Jim, you hit it on a major problem is, we have cases out there that's been riding for over 10 years. Well, other people look at that, a similar situation in Laytonville, a person at the south end of the time, which, and Jim knows the case, been dealing with over 10 years to get that situation cleaned up. Well, a guy at the north end of the town had a kind of a similar trash buildup and whatnot, and then the county started to put the heavy hand of the law down on him after only about 60 days, and he's saying, well, what about that guy at the other end of the town? You give him 10 years. So you get into that. So if we set up a process and make the timelines and everything, and this dealing with somebody on abatement issue for 10 years, in my opinion, is baloney. But maybe that's part of this board. It was only last year in the budget, which we give the building and planning department more code enforcement officers. And this is a big county. The other day, and it really, I always talk about how big this county was, but I basically look at my district. But the other day, I left from Island Mountain and went clear to the Walla meeting, Fort Bragg, and then down to Walla, and then back the next day. And it makes you really aware of how huge this county is. And probably to keep up on all these abatement issues, if we had 50 code enforcement officers, we couldn't keep up with them, with flying around with 10 airplanes. So yeah, we're kind of hitting the hot spots, and I don't believe, some of these places get complaints every day or once a month or something. I don't see where we really have a broken process right now. When it comes to abandoned vehicles, there's a real easy process now, which hasn't been in effect for the last 30 years, and that's where old fallen or crashed up cars are actually worth money for the tow companies to come and get. So that's a problem. We're making real progress in that. I don't have much patience for somebody that says they got them old cars out there and they can't get rid of them because they can't afford it. There's no cost involved anymore. The wrecking companies will come. Sometimes they'll even pay you for them. So that's kind of an issue that solved itself. But the trash issue, you get into certain cases, like I say, where somebody's owned the property for years and they don't have the money, and we got a process set up through MSWAD where we can help with the funding of that trash disposal. An issue in my district in Willits just the other day, a piece of property out on Hurst Road has been trashed for all my life I can remember, and the lady's had financial problems, and she called me the other day. She said, well, I've really decided I got to help her over there to clean it up. And so immediately I called up Solid Waste, and I says, can you get the dumpster out there? And he says, I'll have it out there tomorrow morning. He says, we'll do it as a free service. So we are making progress in that area, but I don't see where we need to create a process where we have basically lien hearings once a week on issues. I don't think that's the
issue is you do have that process now by code.
But it hasn't been a problem.
Hasn't kicked in yet.
Well, you haven't even had one yet. We're just now in the process of referring them to you.
Yeah.
And this is preparatory to that, just so you know what you're going to be getting into.
I don't think that it's, what's the old saying, if it's not broken, let's don't fix it. But if you really feel it's going to lead to that many coming forward to that degree, then maybe we need to have that discussion about
well, I think Jim said he has 68 cases pending, and I think all of our hope is if we get I don't know which ones will be the first as it plays out, but if we get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know how many in here, and people start taking hits, word's going to get out. We hope, and that will give just the threat of that happening some more teeth.
Is it an issue of you got 50, 60 cases coming forward, or is it an issue you have 50, 60 cases that the building and planning department hasn't come to resolve and negotiate with the landlord? We sit on the board of equalization, and there's people coming in to get their property reassessed all the time, but probably 97% of them, the assessor's office and the landowner resolves it before it comes to us. So are we negotiating enough, or that has a lot to do with how you negotiate, how far up the appeal goes.
Well, when they fail to abate and they leave their property in a real mess, at the end of 90 days, we're obligated to come to you to ask if we can record that lien. And that's what we'll be doing. We have not done that yet, but we have many candidates for that we'll be now beginning to bring to your attention.
Thank you. Supervisor Smith. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. McCleary, I'd really like to thank you for this presentation, because I think this is sort of the culmination of I believe it was the unanimous vote by the board to put this new nuisance abatement ordinance into play, and County Council's office spent quite a bit of time getting this enacted, and I think it's really an important thing that we need to do, that we were really not in sync with good documents and good policies to do the kind of enforcement work that we really needed to do. So yes, we've upped the staff. I still don't think you have nearly the staff that you need to do this important work. And we finally got the actual ordinance in place, but it's now we've come to the follow through. So I really appreciate your presentation. I think it's clearly presented. You're trying to do a prospective analysis of where we are going to have to go, where you're going to have to go, and where we're going to have to go. And I think that's really good, that we're having a department that's looking ahead instead of, okay, board, all of a sudden here you are. Didn't you know that your ordinance was going to take this amount of time and this type of effort from staff and from you? So I think that's really good. So I think we do need an ordinance with teeth in it, and I think that this is why this was created. But, to Supervisor Colfax's comments, I really think there are some very valid points there as well.